Bree Burks, everybody. Look, this woman needs no introduction. She's a site advocate. She's worked. She understands the struggle. You're an RN, right?
Yes.
Worked with oncology, with the patients in the academic medical centers.
Yep.
I want to say Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt, you got it.
See? I know it.
You got it.
I know
you
the
know
story
me.
already. Sites still struggle. I just did an interview. Protocols are getting more and more complex. Sites are understaffed.
Yeah.
Despite all the layoffs in the industry, CRO and some sponsors, sites are not playing.
Yeah.
Sites are understaffed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of the solutions you guys have are solutions for sites.
Right.
I work with a few. I don't work with all of them. I've played with a few. I actually use the EDC like regularly for one of our studies. Single sign-on is going to be huge. Every coordinator is going to be a fan of this. But why are you so passionate, like you personally?
Yeah.
Forget Veeva for a second.
Got it.
Just Bree Burke, why are you so passionate about this?
So, I mean, I really think it comes from my nursing background. It's just seeing, I had such a cool opportunity early on as a nurse to see clinical trials change people's lives and loved it, so hooked on it. But I went through probably similar things that you did too, of like, over time, the technology became the thing I couldn't solve for. And the complexity in the way that we were having to work was so maddening. And I was losing great staff that wanted to just do their job, didn't want all of this variation in the way that they were working, didn't want all of these systems. It was almost like it was just, keeping us from what we really wanted to get to. And it, for me, felt like this kind of unsolvable internal problem that I felt like, man, what is this going to look like in 5 or 10 years from now if we keep adding all of this technology on?
And this was when? When were you doing coordinating?
I started out as a coordinator in 2008-ish, 9.
Around that
as
time.
like as a nurse coordinator role. And technology, I felt like really started getting in the way around 2015.
All right, so let's go back to like 09 real quick.
Okay, yeah.
You were already starting to think about this stuff, right?
Yeah.
You didn't even know what Veeva was back then.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Where, if you could think ahead to where you would expect the industry to have been by 2024, is it in a good place? Or would Bree have been disappointed back then?
I think I would be really disappointed.
That's sad.
I mean, just because, we use technology so much in our lives right now and it makes things so much easier. And so I think looking back, I would have thought, well, that's going to happen for our industry too. Technology is going to make things easier.
Yeah.
I mean, I a couple weeks ago, I got a bill from a rental car when we were in Florida going through a toll booth. And you're like, that was technology at work, right? But we can't even create a good consumer experience for our research site staff. We're just making the experience worse with technology. So I feel like we're kind of going almost in the wrong direction in a lot of ways.
What are some examples of making it worse?
It's like, where do you start? Nothing's repeatable, right? So in my dream, I like to dream about, I shop on Amazon a lot because I'm working all the time, right? And I don't go into stores anymore. And Amazon has made my life easier because I'm not even worried about the supplier on the other end of Amazon because the process is so repeatable for me. Look for the thing, find the thing, do the information, and it feels so repeatable. Right. That's a simple sort of example, but when you think about sites being a shared resource for all these sponsors, there's so much opportunity to improve consistency across the sponsors for the site, to give them repeatable processes. And technology could play a huge role in that if the sponsors could kind of come together and we could start working in more consistent ways. Yeah. And that for me is such a lost opportunity that I'm thinking about, pretty much every day right now,
It's actually, especially when you're you're a site with a new study.
Yeah.
Right? Luckily, this last year I've removed myself at UMA clinical trials from the daily patient interactions.
Yeah.
I do miss it, but the only way to grow it is to remove myself from it. But when I first started, I was in there doing all the patient visits.
Yeah.
Bree, like, I actually got, like, when there's a new randomization for a new study, new screenings, I'll get worried, like, borderline panic.
Yeah.
Like, this patient, I don't want them to see me fumbling around with all these tools.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an escape room. I use that analogy.
Yeah.
I won't go to escape rooms because I do it every day at the site. Like, getting a patient out of the visit is an escape room.
Yeah. Well, they're putting so much trust in you to do this research thing. And then if it looks like you don't know what you're doing, because truly every single trial is a brand new trial and you're having to start over.
The IRT won't work.
Right.
They're saying that the med is not there when it is. There's thousands of possibilities here.
So something that I think about a lot as we keep this conversation going around, like getting into the communities to expand diversity, like meet the patients where they are, partner with those community physicians where there's already trust. But I think, what we're not being honest about is those physicians most of them cannot take on research because it's too complicated. And that's not what they want to do. And it's getting more so. Yeah. And so something that we were talking about yesterday at our ACRP in a meeting I was in is, my challenge to everyone is like, why are we managing all this complexity? Instead of looking at where the complexity is coming from and trying to make it more simple. And these sponsors really do, in my opinion, need to come together and think about bringing sites more consistency in the end to save their own drug development pipeline. Because if we just keep, like if we just keep saying, well, this is so complicated, I have all these different systems and all these different ways of working, and we want to get into the community sites, but we really can't because it takes extra resources and people to run trials, and they can't take that on.
But what have you seen from the sponsors? Because you work with a lot of sponsors, right?
I see that the desire is there. I see that they really are trying to understand and engage with sites and learn their experience, that they're wanting to support them, that they're wanting to fund things for sites in new ways. But where I don't yet see is that they're actually willing to come more together to the table together to say, how can we start to think about things we could do in more consistent ways for the sites? So I see that they're engaging with sites, and and the problem is becoming real, and they believe it, and they want to solve it, and that is new. 5 years ago, I wouldn't, or even pre-COVID, I would have said they don't understand that. Now they're willing to make changes. They want that site centricity, but I think they need to come together. Yeah,
the big ones or the small ones too.
I would say here, right? Because again, we're like, it takes resources to come to a conference like this and set up a booth and that kind of thing.
Yeah, you see only the big ones.
Yeah,
here.
you see the big ones here. So it is hard to say, but I do think that every sponsor is thinking that now.
But like
and
in
that
the wild, like you talk to small ones, like you have small sponsors using Veeva, right?
We have, absolutely, we have small sponsors using Veeva. We've even thought about ways to take our technology and make it out of the box for sponsors, where they don't even have to set it up, they don't even have to do anything. So we are really thinking about the whole market of sites, the whole market of sponsors, medtech, biotech, and really our own internal challenge for ourselves right now is how to simplify things. Our CEO has this cool story that he talks about that I love, and it's about this one guy named Malcolm in like the 1950s that was so frustrated with the shipping process, like all the cargo being randomly designed, laid out on the loading decks for days. Then you couldn't get it on trucks, and actually logistically shipping things overseas was a nightmare, and there was no standards. But he was so passionate about it and owned a trucking company, he created the modern shipping container. And then the governments got on board. And then it was like everything became more efficient. And I think we have to look for those opportunities as technology companies, as sponsors, to say, where can we decrease the complexity?
So just make ubiquitous tools that you don't need to think about. You just use it, everyone knows how to use it, everyone accepts it as the standard, and that's it.
I don't want to say that we're all going to just use the same tools as a standard, but yes, and think about repeatable processes like feasibility. Like, could we get a consortium of sponsors to come together and say, 90% of this feasibility is really the same let's truly reuse it over and over again. And let's accept other people's feasibility data on the sites. You know, like...
I feel like feasibility, especially with things like EDC here,
Yeah.
can be done automatically. Like, and of course things like eSource, which you guys don't really do, right? Like eSource. But you have data out there.
Yeah.
You don't need to extract it manually from sites. You already have it.
Right.
Plus sites, they tend to lie and exaggerate. If you enrolled only 8 patients, you're going to say you did 11.
Yeah.
Because no one's going to check. Not speaking from experience, but there's I hear such things occur.
Sure.
But EDC won't lie.
Yeah.
And EDC will tell you the demographics.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's where I see it going. But I thought we would have already been here by now.
Yeah, same. But I think we're not working together well enough yet to really meet a lot of these challenges. I think it's starting to happen, and I do think if we could start to get some of the sponsors to work better together, that would be. Wasn't
SIP supposed to be that shared investigator portal?
I think SIP was an example that sponsors can work well together, right? Like that there is something there, and there is the desire. Yeah. But I think you also have to really focus on execution, right? And I think not everyone was at the table in the right way, potentially, there. Right. So, you know, I also want to just say this is not going to be an easy problem to solve. It's not like we just need to get everybody together and we'll fix all of this. Right. But I think that the conversations are starting to happen and we're making a lot of progress. And I think what we're going to see from the technology standpoint in our industry is what we see with other industries, where you do end up with these sort of bigger players at the end, and you do start to see consistency and systems that really meet a whole lot of needs. And then you have these smaller, really innovative technology companies. Right now, I think our market is so saturated with technology vendors, we haven't gotten to the level of consistency that we will over time. Right? Like that's just the competitive market is
we're at the beginning stages before an eventual consolidation.
I think we're going to see a lot more consolidation. I don't think we're going to just end up with one mega technology company, but like if you look at electronic health records, which I think there is a lot of parallels with electronic health records and what we're doing. It took a little while for the big groups to come on board, and now when you look at a lot of the big health systems, they're on 1 or 2 products. Right. And then they use other more innovative products for certain things. Right. And I think we're going to see that.
Tools too, like AI companies now. Yes. I'm on the board of one of them where they try to help you find, it's Select IQ. Shout out to Ethan and Jason. They're not here. Unbelievable. Don't worry guys, I'll hold it down for you. But yeah, you see like AI tools on top of all this stuff.
Right.
That's
coming.
That's like 2040.
Yeah.
2040, like if the way I asked you how you felt in 2009, like would you be happy in 24?
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to interview you in 2040.
And see.
God willing, we're both still here.
Right.
Hey, are you happy with how things progress? Where do you think it's going to head? Like, where should it be by then? 2040 is a long time.
You know, I really hope that it all goes into the hands of the patients, quite honestly. Like, I hope when we're looking in 2040, it's like, I actually control my own healthcare data, and I am getting asked directly to participate in trials. I can find trials as easy as I can find a physician, and I can find information on the sites, and I can push my data to the site and to the sponsor, and I get my data back from the trial, and I really basically become my own driving force to create clinical research as clinical care. That's what I...
That's possible?
Yeah.
With the current tools?
With the current tools, maybe not yet, no. But I think it's possible. In 2040, I think it's possible.
All right.
That's what I'd like to see.
Let's do a part 2 in 2040.
Okay, we need one of those, like, what are those, like, time capsules?
Time capsules.
We, like, bury all of our thoughts on 2040 somewhere here at the hotel, come back to it.
Yep, come back in 2040, okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Bree. I really appreciate it. Bree, you guys, if you're not following her, I don't know what's wrong with you, but her LinkedIn is underneath. She's doing a lot for the sites. Really, she understands the sites. She came from the site level, and thank you for the work you guys do.
Thank you for the work that you do.
Some people talk about, they're passionate, but you actually are. Like, there's not too many like that. So thank you.
Thanks, Dan.